I remember the moment the metal frame smashed into me. I was walking home from the grocery store, clutching a small bag of bread and eggs, when the bike shot out of the alley. The impact knocked the wind out of me, and I hit the asphalt hard. My knees tore open, my elbows scraped raw, and I tasted iron as blood trickled from my lip. The cyclist never stopped. Just a blur, then gone, leaving me crumpled on the ground. I lay there for minutes, trembling, my bag crushed, eggs broken into a sticky mess on the pavement. My chest burned and my legs screamed as I pushed myself onto my elbows. I could barely breathe. No one came. No stranger paused. The world spun, but I forced myself to crawl, inch by inch, toward home. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video? By the time I reached the front steps, my clothes were streaked with blood and dirt. My vision blurred, but I grabbed the railing and pulled myself up, one shaky arm at a time. My chest ached, my legs buckled, but home was just a few feet away. That was when the door swung open. I thought for 1 second, just one, that my parents had noticed, that maybe for once they would care. Instead, I froze as my mother and father stepped past me, laughing, carrying armfuls of glossy shopping bags, and behind them, my sister Amelia twirled, showing off her new dress. Dad's voice was booming, proud. "Look at you, Amelia, like a star. Everyone at the party will stare." Mom giggled, clutching another bag. "Our girl deserves everything. Only the best." Their eyes flicked down at me, collapsed, bloodied, trembling on the step. I whispered, "Help me." But Dad's lip curled. He stepped over my arm as though I were a pile of garbage left on the ground. His shoe dug into my fingers as he pushed past. Mom sneered, shaking her head. Pathetic, always ruining the moment. Amelia laughed. My sister's laugh, sharp and cruel. "She looks like roadkill. You should have crawled around the back so no one saw you." They didn't stop. They didn't ask. They didn't even flinch. They stepped over me, arms full of my sister's bags, as if their other daughter didn't exist. As the door slammed, I lay on the porch shaking, the echo of their laughter cutting deeper than any wound on my skin. My legs throbbed, my palms stung, and my heart cracked in a way I didn't know could hurt worse than physical pain. Minutes passed, but through the window I could hear them still. Glasses clinking, Dad's voice calling Amelia our treasure, Mom praising her for how she looked. They were cheering, while I bled on the porch like a strayed dog left out in the storm. I dragged myself inside once they disappeared into the kitchen, crawling past the bags scattered on the floor. My sister's shoes spilled from one, shiny, new, expensive. My breath caught and I pressed my hand against my ribs where the pain burned. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse. But I did neither. Instead, I looked up at the family portraits on the wall. In every one, Amelia stood in the middle, my parents' hands on her shoulders. I was always in the corner, smaller, cropped halfway out, forgotten, even in photos. That night, lying on my bed with bandages I'd applied myself, my body aching with every breath, one thought repeated in my mind. They will never see me as their daughter. They will only ever see me as dirt under their feet. But something else followed, sharper, more dangerous. They will learn what it feels like to bleed. Not from cuts, from loss. And as I stared at the ceiling, the sound of their laughter still ringing in my ears, I began to plan. Not just survival, but the kind of revenge that would make their cheers die in their throats forever. The bruises turned purple by the next morning, my arms stiff, my ribs aching every time I tried to sit up. I patched myself with cheap bandages from the corner store, since no one in this house would bother. The air smelled of Amelia's new perfume. Boxes from her shopping spree littered the living room like trophies. My father was polishing his shoes at the table, humming, while my mother helped Amelia plan outfits for some gala she had been invited to. They didn't ask how I was. They didn't even look at me. When I limped past, my mother wrinkled her nose. "Emma, you're dripping on the floor. Can't you clean yourself up before walking in? Honestly, you're like a disease." Amelia smirked, stretching her long legs across the couch. Maybe if you had been prettier or smarter, Dad would carry your bags too. But no, you have to make every scene pitiful. Dad chuckled, not looking up from his shoes. Amelia is our future. You're just background noise. You should be grateful we even let you stay here. His words landed heavier than the bike had. I froze, my breath catching in my throat, but I forced myself to keep moving, up the stairs, into my room. The door closed, but their laughter filtered up through the vents. Every time Amelia squealed about her new dresses, I remembered their shoes pressing into my hand, their voices cheering while I lay bleeding on the porch. That was the night something hardened in me. I pulled out an old notebook, the one I had used in college before my parents pulled my tuition, and gave it all to Amelia for her dream. On the first blank page, I wrote one line. They don't see me as their daughter, so I will stop seeing them as my parents. For weeks, I moved like a ghost through the house, listening more than I spoke. My parents never noticed. They were too busy funding Amelia's endless shopping, her spa appointments, her influencer life. I began writing everything down, where they spent money, what Amelia bragged about, the charities Dad pretended to donate to but pocketed instead. I learned that my father had taken loans in his company's name, loans he covered by transferring money from accounts labeled as Amelia's wedding fund. One evening, I overheard him on the phone in his study. "Don't worry, she's too stupid to look at numbers," he told someone. "It'll all look clean by the time Amelia walks down the aisle. If Emma ever asks, tell her the money was never hers to begin with." My nails dug into the wood of the doorframe, my money, my work, my years of cleaning offices at night while Amelia slept in satin sheets, all erased, claimed for her. I began saving copies of everything, receipts, bank transfers, even Amelia's texts to her friends, bragging about how she would bleed the family dry before Emma even noticed. But gathering evidence wasn't enough. Evidence is cold. My parents thrived on appearances, on smiling in public while rotting in private. If I was going to ruin their lives, I needed to do it in a way that mirrored the cruelty they had shown me, publicly, mercilessly, where their cheers would turn to gasps. The chance came faster than I expected. Amelia was chosen to give a speech at a city fashion event. My parents were overjoyed. "Our pride," Dad boasted. "Our star." Mom kissed Amelia's cheek in front of the mirror. "You'll make everyone forget Emma even exists." They didn't know I had already sent anonymous tips to the event organizers. Not lies, truth. Screenshots of Amelia mocking disabled fans online. Recordings of her bragging about using charity donations for new shoes. Photos of receipts where Dad funneled company money into Amelia's accounts. The organizers didn't respond directly to me, but I didn't need them to. I only needed them to look. The night of the event, I dressed simply, slipping into the back row of the audience. My parents and Amelia sat near the front, glowing under the lights. My sister wore a shimmering gown, her hair styled like royalty. She looked untouchable. My parents clapped as she walked onto the stage, their heads held high, their smugness radiating through the room. Then the projector behind Amelia lit up. Not with her photo shoots, not with her rehearsed speech slides, but with the first leaked screenshot, Amelia's text. "Charity kids are ugly anyway. At least their money bought me new heels." The room went still. Amelia froze, her mouth opening and closing. Another slide, bank records, transfers labeled charity donations moving straight into her account. Then a recording. Dad's voice clear as crystal. "Emma's nothing. Amelia's our investment. Who cares if the money's dirty? It's all for her future." Gasps erupted. Phones whipped out. My parents leapt to their feet, shouting, trying to shut it down. But it was too late. The organizers cut Amelia's mic. Security moved in. I stayed in the back, my hands folded neatly in my lap, watching the panic ripple through them like fire through dry grass. This was only the beginning. The fashion event imploded within minutes. What was meant to be Amelia's crowning moment turned into a massacre of her reputation. Reporters swarmed, snapping photos as she crumbled on stage, her voice cracking, trying to deny the evidence plastered behind her. My parents shoved through the crowd, shouting at security, accusing everyone but themselves. But the audience wasn't buying it. Their whispers cut louder than applause ever had. That's the girl who stole from charities. Her father covered it up. That family is rotten. By the time Amelia and my parents were escorted out, their faces were pale, sweat dripping, smiles shattered. I slipped out quietly, no one noticing me, but I noticed them. For the first time, they weren't untouchable. That night I sat at my kitchen table, my knees still scarred from the bike accident, and I made the final decision. Exposing them wasn't enough. They had stepped over me as though my blood was dirt, as though my life was less valuable than shopping bags. If they believed their pride, their status, and their daughter's reputation mattered more than my survival, then that's exactly what I would destroy, piece by piece. Within days, Amelia lost sponsorship deals. Her Instagram followers plummeted after clips of her cruelty spread online. The charities my father had cheated pulled out of his business contracts. My mother, who thrived on hosting luncheons and mingling with high society, found her invitations revoked. Overnight, their world began to collapse. But I wasn't finished. I had one more card to play, and it was the sharpest. My father's company, the same one he drained to fuel Amelia's life, was already under quiet investigation. I had every document they needed, every crooked transfer, every falsified invoice. I walked straight into the office of a local journalist who had covered corporate fraud before. I didn't give my name. I just slid the folder across the desk, looked him in the eye, and said, "The truth deserves light." 2 weeks later, the headline hit the front page, "Local Business Under Fraud Investigation. Family Ties to Charity Theft Uncovered." I watched from the bus stop that morning, coffee in hand, as strangers unfolded their papers and shook their heads at my father's photo splashed across the front. The same man who had stepped over me bleeding was now branded as a cheat and a liar. At home, chaos erupted. My father screamed into phones. My mother sobbed about how people were so cruel. Amelia locked herself in her room, terrified of the cameras camped outside. Their perfect kingdom had crumbled, and all I had to do was nudge the first brick. Still, I didn't gloat. I didn't announce my part in it. That would have given them the satisfaction of blaming me. No, this downfall was theirs to own. Their choices, their words, their greed. I just held up the mirror. The real revenge, though, wasn't the headlines or the whispers. It was the silence inside the house when the laughter finally stopped. For the first time, I could walk through the front door without hearing Amelia praised and myself insulted. For the first time, they looked at me not with scorn, but with fear. One evening, as I passed through the kitchen, my father muttered, "If you had any decency, you'd help us fix this mess." I turned, calm, steady. "If you had any decency, I wouldn't have been left bleeding on the porch." The color drained from his face. My mother opened her mouth to spit another insult, but no words came. Amelia stayed silent, curled up in her chair like a wilted flower. That silence was worth more than any apology. I didn't need them to beg, and I didn't need them to fall at my feet. Their downfall was already complete. Their wealth, gone. Their reputations, destroyed. Their pride, shattered. And I, the daughter they once called useless, walked out the front door with my head high, leaving them to choke on the very dirt they once stepped over me to carry my sister's bags. And for the first time in my life, the air outside felt clean. Free. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.